Good morning. I can't believe it's already December 16th, and here we are again on Monday morning for Coffee Calibration. I am Kristina Swanson. I am your Dream Builder coach and Life Mastery consultant. And on these Monday mornings, I get together with my clients, my partners in believing, my mastermind, and anyone else who's interested in learning how to stay on track by calibrating your results every week. So welcome. I hope you have your favorite beverage. Perhaps it's coffee, perhaps it's tea, Diet Coke, whatever. For my international friends, perhaps it's actually an evening beverage. I know that it is now evening in India and in Greece, for instance. So I welcome you from wherever you're coming in from. And I hope you're here with pencil and paper, perhaps your calendar, ready to set your week up for success. This is December, and this month we have been focusing on the topic of miraculous manifestation. And just to remind you, something is a miracle is something that is a surprise that you did not expect, that did not come from a common source. And I promised this week we would talk a little bit more behind the science of this concept of a miracle, or what we're going to actually talk about is what Price Pritchett calls making a quantum leap. This is his book, U Squared, a high velocity formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness in quantum leaps. I love this book. The more I dive into it, the meatier it becomes. And it just dovetails really well with Mary's teachings, with Bob Proctor's teachings, with pretty much everyone else that we've talked about on this call, Wallace Wattles, Napoleon Hill. If you have studied personal transformation, the principles in this book should align with whatever it is that you've learned, as long as you're learning from somebody who knows what the heck they're doing, right? Okay, so we always begin these sessions by setting an energetic state. And this is pretty important because it's Monday morning, perhaps you're feeling a little frenetic, worrying about what's coming up today, or that you haven't checked your email, or maybe you have checked your email and there was something in there that you didn't prefer to see. Well, whatever it is, I want you to try and come back to this present moment just for this period of time so that we can help get you straightened out and back on track to having a very successful week. Okay. So what we usually do is I have you type into the chat what you are happy for and grateful for. And not only are you going to share something you're grateful for, but I want you to share something that you're proud of. We do this every month, or excuse me, every week, because it's super important for us to be in the present moment, but also for us to be at a high vibration. We all experience a vibration of some kind. It's basically like a thermostat. If you are alive, you have a vibration. Now, if you're not feeling very good, if you're worried or sick or angry, perhaps you have a pretty low vibration. And you can tell that because you feel constricted in your body, right? Some of us might be feeling a lot more exciting. Maybe we have something going on that we're looking forward to, and we are feeling happier. We have an expanded feeling in our chest. We are connecting with other people. There's more vibration of love and abundance because a high frequency is the frequency of abundance, right? And abundance comes in many different kinds. Napoleon Hill in his book lists, I think, 16 different kinds of abundance, and money is like almost at the bottom of the list. There are so many other kinds of things in our lives that are just amazing. And that just inspires me. Perhaps I will do a talk on that one of these days, the different types of abundance. So that sounds like maybe a New Year's program. In fact, all right, I'm going to write that down. In the meantime, if you've come up with what you're grateful for, what you're proud of, quickly type it into the chat. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So let's set our energetic state. I invite you to close your eyes, and we are going to practice the brave thinking breath. I will go through it with you and explain to you why we do this. First of all, as you are breathing, I want you to breathe in through your nose. And then I want you to breathe out like you're blowing through a straw through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth like you're breathing through a straw. I need you to do this about 4 or 5 times. And once you start to feel the energy in your body settle down, whatever parts of you that might be tense start to relax. That's awesome. And then as you're doing this, I want you to start thinking about what is my thing that I'm grateful for and what am I proud of. Okay. And perhaps out of those things, you also may have something that you know you need to accomplish or you would love to accomplish this week. And it's time now for you to start to think about what is it that I'm going to focus on and calibrate for this week. Excellent. Okay. So the reason that we do this every week is because I want you to start to get in the practice of this very important skill of being able to generate an energetic state at will. This is super important because this is how, when you're going through something that's challenging, you can reset your energy and begin to feel better in this moment. It's how you're going to deal with stress and difficulties in your life and keep yourself on track when you want to get sucked in by that circumstance or condition in your life. So as you're doing this, I want you to also make sure that you're acknowledging something that you're proud of. This is something that you have taken action on. We want to acknowledge the part of us that's taken action because we know that it's not a given that we will act when we have the inspiration or the need to do so. We have the power of will. And what that means is that we have to use our will in order to force ourselves to do the things that we need to do. Okay. Now, when we say something we're proud of, what we're doing is we are acknowledging that we took action and we are giving our will and ourselves a command that following through with action is something that's important to us. It's an important acknowledgement of the part of us that takes action. And so we name something that we're proud of. So if you'd like to share something that you're proud of and that you're grateful for, please put it in the chat for me. And as always, I'm going to model this for you by doing exactly the same thing because I need to be calibrated today as well. We're never done being calibrated by noticing what we're noticing and thinking about what it is that we would love to create our lives and making sure that we are focusing on those thoughts, right? Okay, so today I have to say I'm just so happy and grateful that I found my book coach almost a year ago. Her name is Diana Page Jordan, and she has been helping me reconstruct, deconstruct, and reconstruct my book so that it is publishable, so that it will be impactful, and that it will reach as many people as possible because it has a very important message in it about American Indian women. Up until when I met her, I was completely stuck. I had been over analyzing, over researching, over writing. I wanted to make sure that I had proven that I knew exactly what I was talking about, right? But what I did was a paralysis by analysis. I ended up with a book that was way too long, and publishers basically looked at me like deers in a headlight. So I decided, okay, I need to find support. And publishers weren't helpful because I didn't have a contract with any of them. So why would they give me advice on how to fix a book that they weren't ready to publish, right? So when I found Diana, it was actually a huge miracle. I was in a Connect group for my Brave Thinking Masters class, and She ended up in my breakout session and we connected, and then we connected offline, and it has been the most impactful thing for me, because I'll tell you what, out of the 500 or more people in this master's class, the fact that I got put in the room with someone that aligned so well with me and my vision of this book, who has tremendous education and knowledge and background and can take me to places I need to go with this book, is pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, a miracle. And the fact that she had a space and an opening to allow me to work with her last year was also a miracle. And the fact that I've manifested enough money to pay her is a miracle. And the thing that I'm just grateful for is to have her support, because having that container of growth around that project has really given it some rocket fuel. And so look out, 2025, my book is coming out. Now, what I'm proud of is that I'm not just leaving that relationship on autopilot, as I have been for many months. I had a meeting with her this past week where we set up our first meeting already for January, where we are going to really plan the next year, what the next steps are, review exactly what needs to happen, and get me back into an accelerated mindset of growth with that. Okay. It's so important to stay in the study. If I allowed myself to go more than a week or two between our meetings, I'm not writing. If I'm not going to the gym twice a week with my personal trainer, I'm not going to the gym at all. Okay. So I really feel like her container of growth for me around this book has been a quantum leap. And that's what we're going to end up talking about today. So first, let's see, is there anybody in the waiting room that wants to type in a gratitude or a proud of, or both? And while you're doing that, let me know where you're zooming in from. Awesome. Well, I see my brother, also named Christopher, and his husband Matt are on the call. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you guys. How are the puppies? I'm sure they're doing fine, because I see them on the couch with you. Hello, Pico. Yeah, Mando. Yep. Okay. Yep. You're grateful for your trip to Rome. I bet it was spectacular. Oh my gosh. Yep. Proud of the fact that you were all set, so you don't have a lot of work coming back. That's even more spectacular. Congratulations. Jerry, grateful that your back surgery went well. Proud that you're here. Okay. Well, you know what? I am so happy and grateful that your back surgery went well too, because I just think that that's one of the things that I fear the most, is injuring my back, or maybe losing my eyesight, but really, that would make me immobile if I felt like I couldn't move. And so, yeah, very proud of you too. Awesome. Farrell, how are you, Farrell? Grateful for a new client. Actually, that's awesome. Farrell is a fantastic resume coach that I met in one of my groups. She's one of my partners in Believing. And what is she proud of? What are you proud of, Farrell? Proud of the fact that you're stepping out and doing what you can with what you have, despite the fact that your health hasn't been the greatest. We are all dealing with circumstances and situations in our lives that are not preferable. But quite frankly, the fact that you're stepping up and you recruited a new client and you're serving that client, I think is just spectacular. Congratulations with that. And Michael, hello, Michael. You are grateful that your dad's coming for Christmas. Excellent. Out of the fact that you get out of bed every day and go to a job you hate. Well, that's why you are here, my friend, because we are going to help you form a bigger vision of what it is that you would love to be doing, so that you love your life and you jump out of bed every day ready to do it. Ready? Okay. You know, Michael, I think you and I ought to talk later offline about getting you into one of my vision workshops, because that's really what we do is we spend more of an hour or so going through what it is you would truly love and helping you get a lot more clarity on what next steps are for you. Okay. I would love to support you with that. Yeah. Just actually put your email in the chat for me, would you? Awesome. That way I can send you a quick and easy link. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we are going to talk a little bit today about, like I said, quantum leaps. Because as we're talking about miraculous manifestation, the thing that makes a lot of things seem like a miracle is that we don't know how they happen. And I love this little book by Price Pritchett. He does a great job of explaining this concept. And I love the story that this book starts with. And so we are going to begin there. Okay. And this is a true story. I'm sitting in a quiet room at the Millcroft Inn, a peaceful little place hidden back among the pines about an hour out of Toronto. It's just past noon, late July, and I'm listening to the desperate sounds of a life or death struggle going on a few feet away. There's a small fly burning out the last of its short life energies in a futile attempt to fly through the glass of the window pane. The whining wings tell the poignant story of the fly's strategy. Try harder. But it's not working. The frenzied effort offers no hope for survival. Ironically, the struggle is part of the trap. It's impossible for the fly to try hard enough to succeed at breaking through the glass. Nevertheless, this little insect has staked its life on reaching its goal through raw effort and determination. This fly is doomed. It will die there on the windowsill. Across the room, 10 steps away, the door is open. 10 seconds of flying time, and this little creature could reach the outside world it seeks. With only a fraction of the effort now being wasted, it could be free of this self-imposed trap. The breakthrough possibility is there. It would be so easy. Why doesn't the fly try another approach, something dramatically different? How did it get so locked on the idea that this particular route and determined effort offer the most promise for success? What logic is there in continuing until death to seek a breakthrough with more of the same? No doubt this approach makes sense to the fly. Regrettably, it's an idea that will kill. Trying harder isn't necessarily the solution to achieving more. It may not offer any real promise for getting what you want out of life. Sometimes, in fact, it's a big part of the problem. If you stake your hopes for a breakthrough on trying harder than ever, you may kill your chances for success. Where are your dreams doomed? Where are you fighting for your life, for survival? Is it your health, a relationship, maybe a job that you don't like Michael's? Okay. Maybe it's your time and money freedom. Perhaps it's that you have plenty of money but no time to spend it, or perhaps you have plenty of time but no money to do the things you love to do. What is it that you would love? And are you ready to take a quantum leap? Okay. So here is the crux of Price Pritchett's book. He makes a promise to us, and that is you don't have to be content with improving things incrementally or gradually, because right now, in this moment, you're capable of exponential improvement in your performance. You can multiply your personal effectiveness, hit new highs, and shatter old achievement records. The results you can have will be hard for you to imagine. You can become, as his book is titled, U squared. Right? You don't have to settle for things as they are now. They can change. Dramatically, if you're ready, life is prepared to give you a breakthrough experience. You can jump to a higher orbit of achievement, live your dream, and enjoy a completely different plane of success. Okay? You don't have to be content with improving things incrementally or gradually. Just as your level of performance can improve dramatically, so can your rate of accomplishment. Furthermore, the U squared formula requires far less effort than you've given in the past. You haven't been reaching your full potential. So far, you haven't even become close. No matter how you wish to measure success, regardless of how you define your achievement, you have barely scratched the surface of what you can personally accomplish. But maybe the time has come to change all of that. Maybe you're ready to make a quantum leap. Now, quantum leap is a term taken from the vocabulary of new physics, quantum physics, the science behind such technological breakthroughs as lasers, television, computers, space communication, and nuclear energy. Okay? Quantum physics is described as the most powerful science ever conceived by human beings. It requires a major rethinking of such concepts as time and space and how human consciousness actually operates. Quantum physics also has staggering implications regarding you, your potential, and the power of your mind. To put it simply, as human beings, we are going to have to reframe our ideas about the universe and how we fit into it. Fred Alan Wolf, in his award-winning book titled Taking the Quantum Leap, describes the term as the explosive jump that a particle of matter undergoes in moving from one place to another. In a figurative sense, taking the quantum leap means taking a risk, going off into an uncharted territory with no guide to follow. Physicists studying quantum mechanics note that particles make these jumps without apparent effort and without covering all the bases between the starting and ending points. What's going on here? How does this happen? And is it possible for you as an individual to do something very similar in your personal performance? Most people operate with a mindset that assumes that success comes one step at a time. But U squared implies an explosive jump in your personal performance that puts you far beyond that next logical step. Okay? U squared is a formula for stunning advances in achievement and the realization of your dreams. The concept is one of exponential gains rather than incremental progress. You might compare it to multiplying instead of adding. It means a geometric progression in your effectiveness. What's exciting is also provocative that it gets better. Remember, quantum leaps can come without apparent effort. These are high velocity moves that carry you dramatically higher performances without a time-consuming struggle. Quantum leaps seem to violate common sense utterly. The idea of moving to a higher orbit and skipping several rungs on the achievement ladder in the process strikes people as far-fetched and maybe even outrageous. After the fact, quantum leaps may be viewed as practical, sensible, even obvious moves, but they typically do not come to you as obvious moves at the moment. Usually it's in retrospect that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance. Invariably, quantum leaps are not complex or intricate maneuvers. They tend to be simple, energy efficient, and time saving. U squared, the quantum leap strategy, can deliver those special dreams and ambitions that you instinctively feel should be yours. But the breakthrough demands a radical departure from some of your old habits. So Price Pritchett in this book actually outlines 15 principles for achieving a quantum leap. And we are going to break this into sections because I don't want to make today's session too long. And we are going to talk about the first 5. Okay. Next week, we will cover the second 5. And then at the end of the year, we will cover the last 5. My goal is for you to receive enough information that you might find something inspirational that you can take out of this. So the first 5 principles of a quantum leap, and actually before I read them out, I'm going to do a little fun exercise with you. I want you to pick a number between 1 and 5 and write it down on your piece of paper. And if you still haven't gotten your piece of paper and a pen, you're going to need it. Grab your calendar while you're at it. Okay. And I want you to pick a number between 1 and 5. So as we go through here, whichever number you picked is the one that you need to work on the most this week. Okay, awesome. All right, so the first 5 principles that we're going to talk about today are changing your rules for success, quit trying harder, ignore conventional approaches, think beyond common sense, and suspend disbelief. Okay. So if you picked the number 1, you picked changing your rules for success. If you want to accelerate your rate of achievement rapidly, you must search out and vigorously employ new behaviors. Okay. Quantum leaps require paradoxical behavior, unusual moves, actions that on the surface often seem to contradict common sense. But if you want to accelerate your rate of achievement rapidly, you must search out and vigorously employ new behaviors, new attitudes. You must be willing to break out of your routines in order to take the quantum leap. Perhaps it's as easy as stepping into a belief that this process of creating a vision and coming from it can actually work, because that could be your quantum leap. It is a quantum leap. It's how it works. Okay, we suspend the how and we focus on what it is that we would really love. We change our rules for success by saying we can have that thing. The thing that worked for you in the past very likely could sooner or later lose its serviceability. It may not work for you anymore. Even if your customary approach still holds promise for maintaining your present level of performance and growth curve, it may not help you much if you want to hit far higher achievement levels. Okay. If you continually rely on those old routines, maybe even leaning on them most of the time when your performance flattens out and sags, you create a trap for yourself. There's a certain irony here. Your historically most dependable behaviors can become the major obstacles for future success. It's possible for them to cripple your progress. They may stand as personal boundary lines that limit you to what you can accomplish in your life. There is, however, another course of action, and it is the way of the quantum leap, becoming U squared. So that's number 1, change your rules for success. Did you pick number 2? Number 2 would be quit trying harder. Okay. Quantum leaps cannot be achieved through incremental steps or through more of the same. You've got to shift gears. You have to follow new patterns of thought and action. The rules of what works and what doesn't always change when you're trying to make a move from normal performance to U squared. Okay. Sooner or later, you're going to reach a point where you can't try any harder. It may be that your spirit flags or that your physical and mental resources are stretched to the limit. Often, well before you come to that set of circumstances, you reach a point of diminishing return. Trying harder and harder starts producing less and less. Sometimes, in fact, intensifying your efforts produces nothing except bigger problems. As a case in point, go back to the story of the fly. That little insect could have turned away from the window 180 degrees and followed the path of least resistance as it flew up the open door. A quantum leap to freedom. 10 seconds of effortless flight would have been produced a total success, while hours of frustration and panic spent beating its wings against the glass were destined to end fruitlessly in death on the dusty windowsill. Now, this is not an argument against self-discipline or persistence. Those are true virtues. Over a lifetime, they can make a powerful contribution to success and achievement. They are fundamental to the development of your talents. It's extremely important to apply yourself diligently, and sometimes staying power is what delivers a big win. But ordinarily, you will find yourself trying harder only produces incremental gains, not quantum leaps. Also keep in mind that trying harder, even a lot harder, sometimes offers little more than a straight path to burnout. Attempting to succeed through more of the same, being resolute, and relying on the committed effort can blind you to better pathways. If you want to make a quantum leap, quit thinking about trying harder. More effort is not the answer. So quit trying harder. Okay. Did you pick number 3? Number 3 is ignore conventional approaches. Okay. Get ruthless about trying something different. Ricochet. If you're trying to climb over the wall, open a door and walk through it instead. If you're pushing against the river, try going with the flow. Ordinarily, we achieve conventional growth because we think along conventional lines. We experience reasonable performance gains because we rely on reasonable approaches. We find ways to make modest improvements in our level of success because we go looking for nothing more. Okay? Quantum leaps require that we abandon the status quo. Instead of once again trying what we've always done, perhaps even with more intensity and determination, ignore the usual. U squared requires an abrupt change in behavior. Look for a paradoxical move. For example, consider reversing your field. Try being illogical. Ricochet. If you're trying to climb over the wall, open that door and walk through. If you're trying to push against the river, going with a flow. Use finesse instead of effort. You must do something new. Faith in the familiar sets a trap, and you spring it when you reinvest yourself in what logically seems like it should work because it usually worked in the past, right? But to make a quantum leap, you've got to break out of the rut where you've been running, second guess your routines, overcome the addiction of your old methodologies, set a new pattern. Quantum leaps come when you seek the elegant solution. So look for an approach characterized by simplicity, precision, efficiency, and neatness. It won't be as complex or time-consuming as your present struggle. Overall, it will be less demanding of your times and energies, and it probably will not be familiar to you. U squared calls for a fresh perspective, a deft movement, a path of less resistance. There is a way you can do more with less. So ignore conventional approaches. Number 4, how many of you picked number 4? No. Number 4 is think beyond what common sense would allow. Think beyond common sense. Taste of Christmas. My coffee today has a little cinnamon in it, as I've been doing actually for the last month or so. Just this time of year always tastes really good, and cinnamon is actually very healthy for you. So, I don't know what you're drinking today, but my cinnamon coffee. Okay. So we are thinking beyond common sense. A 10 or 20% improvement isn't the idea at all. That would only represent incremental gains, right? It's time to focus on possibilities rather than on limits or obstacles. Making a quantum leap means moving outside our mental boundaries. If you will rethink how you're thinking, you can multiply your performance potential. You must let your desires guide you instead of allowing yourself to be boxed in by perceived constraints. A 10 or 20% improvement isn't the idea at all. It would represent only incremental gains. That might be an impressive performance in some situations, like if there were an unusual obstacle or a very difficult set of circumstances. But while such a goal might be challenging, it would not represent a quantum leap. Instead of an additional 10% or so, quantum leap produces a dramatic and multiple gain, an exponential increase. Quantum leaps are, by definition, rather astounding, certainly unconventional. The real limits that you have will not box you in, but false ones you're carrying around in your mind are a self-imposed prison. So how do you break out of that jail? Through surrender. You have to forfeit some of your old beliefs and sacrifice some of those sensible thinking patterns. So-called common sense can be a curse that puts a ceiling on how far you reach or how far you fly. U squared, the quantum leap strategy, is based on uncommon sense. So you need to think beyond what common sense would allow. And if you pick number 5, you are this week going to suspend disbelief. Disbelief. If you must doubt something, doubt your limits. Okay. Your mindset for the moment might be flawed by doubt and skepticism. The idea of making a quantum leap in your performance, jumping from your present level of achievement to one several stages higher in one bold stroke, is an alien idea. You don't have the training to think that way. You may have a definite reservation about the possibility that you can make such exponential improvement at all, particularly with less effort and in a very abbreviated time frame. The experts generally agree, though, that people typically use only about 10% of their true potential. If we accept that argument, and even if there were no other resources outside yourself that you could bring to bear on the situation, you would still do 10 times as well as you are doing. Okay. Your skepticism, which you presume is based on rational thinking and an objective assessment of factual data about yourself, is rooted in mental junk. Your doubts are not the product of accurate thinking, but habitual thinking. Years ago, you accepted flawed conclusions as correct, began your life as if those warped ideas about your potential were true, and ceased the bold experiment in living that brought you many breakthrough behaviors as a child. Now it's time for you to find that faith that you had in yourself before. If you want to be skeptical of some ideas that truly deserve to be called into question, challenge the thoughts and beliefs that have argued against your taking a quantum leap. Put old inhibiting ideas to the test by going for it with everything that you've got. For right now, just suspend disbelief. You don't have to be convinced that you can succeed in making a quantum leap, but don't keep on believing those old ideas have been carrying you around with your personal limits. If it will make it easier, hold off for a while on believing anything. Just act like you have complete faith. Merely do what you do if you already knew you would succeed. Behave like you have that total conviction. Doubt is what does the most damage. So don't let it have any mental space in your brain. Proceed by acting boldly as if it is completely and inconceivably so that you will experience anything other than a successful quantum leap. Suspend the doubt. Suspend disbelief. If you must doubt something, doubt your limits. Okay, so that's suspend disbelief. So tell me, the number that you picked, the principle of a quantum leap that you are focusing on for today and for this week, which one was it? Was it number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5? Number 1 was changing your rules for success. Number 2 was quit trying harder. Number 3 was ignore conventional approaches. Number 4 is think beyond common sense. And number 5 is suspend disbelief. Which one are you working on this week? Now, with that in mind, I want you to think about what it is that you're calibrating for this week. What it is it that you're working on in order to get to where you need to be, right? What is your quantum leap going to be? Okay. How are you going to achieve that? What is one thing you could do this week, whether it's a 5-minute power move or a 5-hour power move? What is something that you can do this week in order to move you in the direction of your vision and your dreams? Okay. Write it down. Once you write it down, I want you to write next to it a by when. Now, hopefully it's something that you can do immediately after this call, that you could do right away. And if you can't do it immediately right after this call, I want you to get out your calendar and right now, write it in the calendar for when you are going to do it. You see, the calendar is one of the most important channels for success that we can use. If we're scheduling our time and our tasks and actually accomplishing those tasks, and we make sure we're putting the most important tasks on the calendar, then we are moving the needle towards where we want to be. Put the big rocks in first, as I've described before. Excellent. What are some things you're doing this week to move yourselves forward? Yep, put them in the chat. Excellent. Okay. So, see, my power move for this week is going to be getting caught up on posting all my videos on YouTube because I had some tech challenges and I haven't been able to get my messages up as quickly and easily as I'd wanted to. And my big power move to move forward is making sure that everything is straightened out and working well. And so in service of that, I'm actually going to book a call with a Mac specialist that I was referred to by one of my partners in Believing, and make sure that I get some professional support on that so that it happens quickly and easily. I often have a resistance to calling tech people because, quite frankly, those calls can be long and tedious and they don't always produce results, right? And so up until now, I've had a resistance to that. And so Apple is usually better, truthfully, than many other organizations I've had to deal with. But, you know, I hate calling QuickBooks because I can go through 3 different calls on the same thing and I have to go through the same procedure and over again. And so it's just not an efficient use of my time when I feel like their help should be able to solve my problems. So don't mean to complain here, but certainly, you know, an example of how we get stuck in a rut of a feeling or a behavior, right? That is something that we wouldn't prefer. And so I'm changing my role for success and I'm jumping on it and I'm getting on that call with Apple support. There you go. Christmas shopping, that's legit. Yep. Yep, okay. Finishing that report. Scheduling a time to meet with your coworker, okay? Yep. What is it that you feel inspired to do? Yeah. Sometimes it's just an intuition speaking to you, right? I was on my way home from the gym the other day, and I got this strong urge to stop at a shop. Now, sometimes when I come out of the gym, I'm pretty sweaty and gross, and the last thing I want to do is actually engage with people or have anybody ever see me. But that day, despite the fact that I was pretty sweaty and gross, the urge kept telling me, stop at the rock shop, stop at the rock shop. And I'm glad I did because one of my clients was in there and she and I needed to connect. And it was a great opportunity. It was super quiet. We were able to stand and talk and get caught up. And she asked me for some support. And so that was really a worthwhile thing. I followed my intuition. And so what are you having the intuition? What are you getting a sudden nudge or urge to do right now that could move you forward? And maybe you don't even know that it would move you forward, but what urges and nudges are you getting? Put them in your calendar. Put them on your to-do list. When we get off the call, pick up the phone and call that person, send that email, whatever it is. Okay? Excellent. So I am so happy and grateful that we are here today, and I'm excited that as we're talking about miraculous manifestation, that we have started our conversation about quantum physics and how that fits into this process, because quite frankly, not all of us believe in God. And even if we believe in God, we might also still believe in science. They're not mutually exclusive, quite frankly. As far as I'm concerned, whether you describe it as God, the universe, source, science, whatever it is, we are all describing the same animal. It's simply a matter of the terminology that we use. But regardless, how we work with it, it works the same. Okay? Whether we call it prayer, whether we call it visioning, whatever we call putting our message into the universe and remaining on a high vibration are critical, no matter what. So I hope that this has helped put you on a little higher vibration today, and I look forward to hearing your results next week in form of gratitudes and proud ofs. I hope that you make a quantum leap today by taking one of these actions, whether you're changing your rules for success, whether you quit trying harder, stop taking conventional approaches, whether you're thinking beyond common sense, and perhaps you're just suspending some disbelief around this whole process, whatever it is. Thank you for investing this time in yourself, and you have a great day. I'll see you next week.